Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Blue Feathered Stories. I'm your hostess, Carole Tatro, also known as Blue Thunderbird Woman. We've created a series this summer for you to enjoy called Rewoven, Stories of the Sacred Womb. And I will be joined by my beautiful soul sister, Amy Everett. And she is no stranger to this podcast, as she has been on many times talking about lots of different topics. And so I am honored that she is here with us. And maybe if you've caught some of those past episodes, you would have known that Amy is a trained doula, one of her many, many talents. And not just trained in what we would call the Western way, but also in the Indigenous way of the teachings. And so I'm super excited and really just honored to bring back some of these ancient teachings that we really have lost along the way. And so, Amy, welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the sacred space. We're glad to have you here.
Thank you for having me. It's just awesome to be here. I was excited to do this with you.
Yeah. So I thought we would dive into this whole series is about the womb. And we're not just going to cover, the physical aspect, the body aspect of the womb, but we're also going to really talk and dive into the spiritual aspect and even the emotional aspect of the womb, and all in what and how it serves us women. And I think one of the best places to start is the body. For us who have chosen to be in a human body, in a physical female body, we chose it for a reason. And I think that for many of us, the womb space is a forgotten space. It is not something, certainly in my generation, it is not something that we are even encouraged to explore, to honor, none of that. And I'll be honest with you, I've met a lot of women in my work and they don't even know what's down there. Like, if they did not birth children, they don't necessarily know their own anatomy and their own body. So, Amy, I thought maybe where we could start is that physical aspect, that tangible aspect. Like, what is the womb? It's like, is it just a couple of parts of the body, the physical, some organs or something? Or like, is it, we know, you and I know that it's way bigger than that, but could you walk us through, like, where is it? And I know that
Yeah.
sounds silly. We should all know where the heck it is, but you'd be surprised. So share with us whatever you have insights to share with the physical aspect of the womb.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm going to share in words so that you can picture this in your mind, because I know that we're not doing this visually. But the womb, oh my gosh, there's so many beautiful parts to it. And honestly, the more we know and it doesn't have to be like you don't have to go to school for many, many, many years to learn about your this space in your body. Um, in my prenatal classes, we actually go through this, and I just share the anatomy of a woman's uterus, of a woman's ovaries, of her hips, all of that. Because when you start to really see that space and actually not just visualize it, but like actually see it and see what goes on and how our body the physiological part of our bodies, like it's just amazing. Like it's very empowering. It's so empowering. The one of the big reasons why it's empowering for in birth is once you start realizing the space you have in your womb and your vaginal canal and all of that, what happens to make room for baby. I can actually see when I learned this, and I can see it in women, are that tension or that fear of like, how is this going to happen? And then you see, wow, there is like so much space. It's like this relief, And so when we learn to explore that, it's just amazing. So to give you a visual, let's say you were looking at your vagina, like your yoni. And so there, the top of your stomach, the top of like your yoni, it would be first your urethra, which is where your urine comes out. And then it is your yoni opening, so your vaginal opening. And then below that, there's the anus. And between the anus and the vaginal opening, that piece of skin, like not piece of skin, but that section is called the perineum. And that's actually a really, really important spot because even if you were to put pressure, just a little bit of pressure on the perineum, you get that really bearing down feeling. Like whether you've had kids or not, and you press that part, there's this like connection that happens, and you're really connecting to your pelvic floor, to the muscles there, the ligaments. Like it's just, it's a really, you get really rooted in doing that.
And it's interesting that you share that because from an Ayurvedic yogic perspective, and not just even that. I mean, it's when we talk about the energetic body, the perineum is the portal to the root chakra. And so we know that the root chakra, for those of us who are versed in the energetic worlds of our bodies, we know that the root chakra connects us to something that we call the Earth Soul Star chakra, which is rooted into Mother Earth herself. So it's almost like this invisible umbilical cord to her, right? So I just thought I'd
Yes.
add that because, yeah, there's the physical component to that, but there's also that invisible component of the energetic body. So yeah.
Yes, that's beautiful. Yeah, so if let's say we're to travel into the vaginal canal, into the yoni, this is something that actually really, really opened my mind and blew my mind to how our anatomy is. We think of it as this like tubular section where it's just like this straight tube, and it's actually not. It is, if I can give you a visual, it is like a an accordion. If I was to fold up an accordion and squeeze it shut, it's going to have all these little nooks and crannies and caverns, and I can call them lounges. So the reason that is, it's not this tubular part of our body, it's actually like an accordion, is because in childbirth, as the baby descends, not only is our cervix dilating, but our vaginal canal is dilating. So it's like opening up, like you'd open up an accordion, and it's making room for baby's head. And I think that is so important because I don't know if women have experienced this in their life, in their moon time, in their periods, or even in sexual activity. Those caverns, those little lounges, a lot can sit there. You know, that's where sometimes, like, you know how they say semen can live up to 5 days? Well, they actually live up into those little caverns for 5 days because that section, because of women's discharge, it's very alkaline.
Mm.
And sperm is alkaline. And when that discharge disappears and during our ovulation, it becomes more acidic. And so any sperm that are there are not going to survive. That's just the way it
Yeah.
goes. Yeah, it's really, really cool. And so if there's a section of your vaginal canal that is still alkaline and you've had sexual activity, well, there's going to be sperm that can live up there to 5 days. And
Mm.
then they can come up, you know, and then perhaps conception will happen.
Mm.
So it's just like even that is really cool. And so when you start to understand and explore your body and move your body, sometimes when you do that, those crevices will release like either old blood or old discharge. Like you're actually helping to cleanse that area when you start to explore, when you start to move, when you start to give awareness to that part of your body. After the vaginal canal, after the yoni, and there's your cervix. And your cervix is a beautiful part of your anatomy in that area because that is the part that opens and closes. Even in our period, it'll open, soften a bit to release the uterus wall lining. In childbirth, that's when you're most open. Your whole body is open. And so when we go past the cervix into the uterus, this, oh my goodness, there's so much that goes on there. And quite literally, and it's why I love doing the right of the womb with Carole, because quite literally in our moon time, whether or not you are in menopause or still in your period stages, you still go through this energetically where you have this release, and that's where your period comes in, where you bleed, and you literally shed the inner wall lining of your uterus. Like it's totally brand new. And that's the blood that comes out. And the right of the womb is just so beautiful because, again, whether you're in menopause or still in your moon time, this shedding is done like um, it's a release. It's like renewed. And so anything you want to release during that time, and then anything you want to call in, because now too you're open, right? You're open during this time too. You also have this release, but you're also calling in. And so for me, when we did the right of the womb, I was introduced this after I had my daughter. I hadn't had my moon time. Uh, like I was pregnant. I hadn't had my moon time for what was I had her, and then she was about a year and a half. And we did the right of the womb, and the next day I had my period, which I was like scared at first because I was still breastfeeding. I'm like, am I going to still be able to breastfeed my baby? But that's just the amazement of a woman's body. But it just that right really came in like flesh form for me. It was just amazing. That is the uterus. And then we move on to, if you look at like the uterus is shaped kind of like a strawberry. It's much bigger than a strawberry, but it's shaped kind of like a strawberry. And on the tops of the strawberry, like on the both sides, you have your fallopian tubes. And it kind of is like almost like antlers that point down. They go down and they're attached to your ovaries. And oh my goodness, I can actually talk for hours, which I won't, about the release of the egg. But I want to point out something really important here about not only your uterus, but this whole section of your body, your hips, every part in that is actually directly connected with your throat, with your jaw. When we are created in utero, the jaw and the hips come from the same piece, the same bone, and they separate at one point. And a lot of the work that we do in both Carole and I is not only helping women connect with their root space, their uterus, their ovaries, their yoni, all of that beautiful space, but it's also to help you connect with your voice. Because the more you open up and release the ways in which you probably suppressed, the things you haven't said, you're actually going to directly impact and directly heal your womb, your uterus.
Mhm.
And so it's all connected, these beautiful parts of our body. And so it's why when we get to start to know them, sometimes we go through a little bit like when we start to explore this area, even just like looking at the anatomy and starting to visualize, we're actually bringing awareness already right now as we speak, awareness to this area.
Mhm.
And for some women, this is going to bring up a lot of emotion.
I'd love to just add to that for one moment because when you're talking about the throat and the uterus connected with each other, um, the work that I do in the spiritual realm when I help women clear out the stagnant energy or the debris in the womb space it's always fascinating to me that once they've done that clearing, and it may not happen immediately, it could happen a little bit over time, but they find their voice. Like sometimes
Mhm.
it's about working on this energetic area space first, the throat, and then the womb clears out. And other times it's like, well, we got to do the womb work first in order for the throat to clear. But they are so connected because whether you're working on one or the other, it's going to impact the other, whichever one you choose,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's that awareness, and we store so much. Like we, society has really conditioned us to suppress,
Hmm.
like suppress emotions, suppress feelings, suppress ideas, suppress dreams, suppress like all kinds of things, even sicknesses, suppress it, suppress it. It's our body is so intelligent. There's an intelligent all on its own that when we allow the body to just release, sometimes what happens is we go through this huge detox of like it gets worse before it almost gets better. But that's like a good thing because you're opening up, you're opening the doors, you're opening your throat. Like it's almost like verbal diarrhea. When you
Hmm.
have somebody who you know will hold space for you and just let you say whatever you need to say to get out, it's like blah, 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 blah. You're just gonna like release it. And that
Yes.
is actually going to start to make room in your body for, well, what do you want to call in? Let's not fill it with the same stuff.
Hmm.
Let's start filling it with the things that really fuel you, that amplify you, that, burn brighter in you. And so
Yeah.
our hips, like, it's just amazing. You know, there's so many women, and I would say the majority, which is we're now starting to really connect with this space, this womb space. Like you said, women can go through childbirth and actually still be disconnected to that area. And I've
Mhm.
actually witnessed that, which it's heartbreaking, but it was beautiful at the same time because she was starting to inch closer to that area, to understanding that area. She had suffered trauma and she was at the same time learning to use her voice. It was
Mm.
helping her, you know, in pregnancy, you have to hold certain healthy boundaries with people, and to do that, you have to speak it. And
Yeah.
so it's why like these areas are so connected and the anatomy of it is connected. It's not just like a spiritual connection, it's actually anatomy, you're connected. And so when we start learning about the different, like even our endocrine system, like our hormones, the Greek word for hormone is actually messengers. And I find it so empowering when you see the look on women's faces when they start to understand their body, understand that they can communicate with their body, tell their hormones, hey, you need to do this, you need to start doing this.
Mhm.
And I'll give you again another visual of where your ovaries are for probably 99.9% of women. If you were to take your thumbs and put them on in your belly button side to side and make a triangle with your index finger. So it's pointing like down towards your yoni. Now splay your pinkies just like pull them away from your other fingers. Where your pinkies land is where your ovaries are. Like rub them, you can tap them, you can like just, hey, I know you're there, I feel you. And again, in doing that, you're bringing awareness, you're starting to connect with all that space, And so sometimes, again, because of conditioning, how like we've been disconnected, been told to stay disconnected, either culturally, religiously, there's been a lot of shame, a lot of guilt. It's been called evil, it's been called bad, when in reality, this is a powerful sacred space in women's bodies. Like what we can do in this is just like it's amazing. Even in our in enjoying the pleasure of our sexuality. There's something that I'm learning, and actually it's still something I'm embodying, but it's something I'm learning that's called the infinite orgasm. Women can actually infinitely orgasm. When you catch a wave, like we think of orgasm, we think of this high peak and then boom down. Well, there's actually a wave, a frequency that's happening in our orgasms that when we catch it, when we when we know how to hold that, there's immense power in that.
Mm.
Like it in creating that, like and through our orgasms, we create these massive things for humankind. Not just life, human life, but
Mm.
way more than that.
What makes me think what's coming to me right now is like, if you think about it and you're creating a wave, you're creating a wave of energetic wave, right? And that energetic wave is carrying a certain frequency. And when, um, you know, in partnering and in love making, when you're creating that frequency together, it is like explosive, right? I mean, we could do a whole series just on that.
Who doesn't want to talk about
We'll
sex,
have to
right?
ask our listeners if they want us to explore that later. Maybe that'll be another whole series in itself. I love that because we often, yeah, we're just so disconnected in so many ways. I mean, I know a lot about energy, and even like as you're sharing that, I'm like, oh, well, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Like that wave is an energetic wave, right? And you're creating that within your own body, and and we know it's like that ripple effect is like that wave is waving out of your body and affecting those around you, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's why, like that's why the more you learn about yourself, about your body, and we're all unique, but like the physiology, the anatomy is somewhat the same in women's bodies. And I teach this, that's why I teach this in prenatal classes. I teach the anatomy, I show them just their body as without being pregnant, what goes on, what happens. And then I show them, in conception, what happens and as baby grows. Because when you start actually seeing this and you start connecting with that like that information, and I say this in class, I'm not here to teach you or educate you. Everything that I am going to share is actually going to unearth it in you. You already know it. And
Yes.
so when I share this, they start to connect with it within themselves in their own bodies. It's like this renewed, it's like, wow, like they're getting to know their bodies for the first time. And there's a communication that's happening. And it's not just like up and down, but side to side and around. And, that awareness in that space is like so powerful. It really connects to your intuition. A lot for women, we store a lot of emotions and feelings in that space. And so at times, like just even in like yoga or any kind of movement, especially in our hips, sometimes you can get emotional because it's like as if and I say this again in class where there's a baby growing in a space where we are actually disconnected to or we don't pay enough attention to. And it's like as if we go into a house and we go into the attic and you go in it and already the dust is starting to like move around and there's a new presence, and then you start looking through boxes and you're like, oh my gosh, I forgot this was here. That
I love that. I love that analogy. That's perfect. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it's like when you bring awareness there. And so pregnancy, obviously, there's this huge awareness there. And we
Mhm.
wonder why these ancestral patterns and all these things that we didn't think of before are coming out. It's because now we're like in the attic, in moving things around,
Yep.
removing the dust,
Yep.
and things are starting to come back. And that can happen without pregnancy too. Like this is just in awareness.
Yeah, well, that's exactly a lot of the womb work that I do, right? Is bringing women into awareness of what's going on in that space and uncovering that space. And so the methodology is through power animals and the grandmother moons, and we come in and we clear that area. We don't need to know what was in the attic, and we don't need to know how many years of dust was collecting there. We just are there to gently remove it and clear it out. But there's something you said earlier about how much we hold emotions in that beautiful sacred space. And I want to remind women that when you're going through your menses and you're shedding that lining, that for us, and I wish I had this information when I actually had my menstruation, but that for us is the best and the most important opportunity in the lunar phase to look at what's coming up emotionally during that period of time. Like, what's coming up, what's your triggers, what's coming up, because what your body is actually communicating to you is saying, listen, we need to wash this out. We need to get these emotions, this energy in motion out. And so we physically are doing that, but we have to mentally connect what is the emotion that I'm shedding, because every month we have an opportunity to do that, is to look at it,
Yeah.
right? And go, okay, I've been really feeling this in the last couple of days. I'm on my monthly cycle. Connect the two and allow your body to shed it out, right? Get that
Yeah.
energy and motion and out. Like, it's like we're not taught that.
No, no, we're taught so backwards, and that has a lot to do with like n not wanting to know our own power, again, suppress and but it's just amazing when you start to bring. And so encourage people who are listening, encourage the women who are listening to start to bring awareness to the area. It doesn't mean you have to touch and explore. I mean, you can absolutely do that too, but really just start to speak to that area. Let things flow, even when I'm alone. This has actually become a daily practice for me, is I found that even when I'm alone, I've been so conditioned that I almost don't want to say the things when I'm alone, but I'm alone. Who's going to hear me, right? And so I just would practice saying the things that I need to say to let out. And specifically, too, with your womb area and sexuality and the things you like and the things you don't like. And just like talking to that space, because all of a sudden something starts to happen. This flow starts to happen in you. And again, sometimes it brings up a lot of emotion. It can feel like things are getting worse. You can actually have a physical um, manifestation of something, like a release of some kind, happen too. But I encourage you. One is get to know your body, get to know your space. I actually have sometimes some women who are not pregnant or never want to be pregnant or anything, who attend the classes and they learn so much just from the class, because you're going to learn so much about yourself and your intuition and your body and everything. Uh, and so, yeah, I just encourage the women that are listening to really start to bring awareness to their womb area, their hips, to start bringing awareness to their voice. Find a space, even if by yourself or with someone you need like a sounding board, find a safe person to just start to let things out, because a lot of healing, a lot of release come through that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Amy, that was just absolutely beautiful. And I would like to take this moment to share that you actually have this spectacular offering that's happening starting this fall, I believe. And so it's called Seeds to Start. Do you want to just give us a little blurb of what this offering is, and whether it's digital, whether it's in person? Like, yeah, let's just share with our listeners what you're going to be doing.
For sure. So I created these prenatal classes for women who are pregnant. It's both for the mother and the father or the partner. And honestly, like I said, even women that just want to know about their bodies, who are um, wanting to conceive in the future, or just again, like I said, just wanting to know or wanting to be supportive to other women who are in their pregnancy. Because everyone, even the men who attend, are going to walk away learning so much. It is not, yes, you're going to learn sort of the clinical things of what happens in your body, the clinical stages of birth, but it's way more than that. This is mysticism anchored in physiology. This is, well, you can call it woo woo, whatever you want, but it's actually, they go hand in hand. And pregnancy and birth, we find right now, and this is why there's such a wave of women coming in. They're like, you know what? We want more. Like, we want more than what we're getting from the medical field right now. Because supporting a woman through her pregnancy and her birth is not just a physical thing. There is like, that's like, I don't know, like the 10% of it. There's a whole other realm of emotions, mental, spiritual, energetic, and like it's just amazing when you start to really understand what happens in your body, physiologically, what happens in your body, but also what is happening with your mind. There we go through brain waves, and you really do, just like a shaman who goes in journeys. A woman is going into journey. She's going into an altered state of mind in pregnancy, yes, but in birth. It's why you witness when women have the baby in the birth, and it's almost like they need a moment to come back. Like it's like they're like, whoa, they just need that moment. And so, oh, I could go on and on about it. Honestly, there's so much. Like every single person who wants to trend for whatever reason, you will leave knowing so much more about yourself, so much more about your body, so much more about your intuition, and so much more about life. The couples that attended, when they would go home or when they would share that, they'd be like, "Oh my gosh, this was like the coolest class! Like, it was so amazing. I learned a lot." That was made me so happy to hear that, because you just never know how someone will receive it. But the feedback I got back was just, I was so pleased to hear that they just felt so more empowered. They felt more confident. There's things that they never learned. Like, we never learned these things. And so
Yeah.
there are things.
I think too, probably one of the biggest things that, any expectant mother for birthing, or whether you're birthing children or whether you're birthing a project or a business or whatever, is the fear. And I think that, the opportunity to receive the knowledge and embody the knowledge to turn it into wisdom helps to dissipate the fear, because fear can't exist when we have knowledge about it. It
Yes.
disappears,
That,
right? I just love it, and I think that so those the Seeds to Star is something that you physically attend, correct?
yes. So there's one in Steinbach starting Wednesday, September 3rd. I do have one starting actually Tuesday, September 2nd in Winnipeg, but it's through a organization, so they're sort of setting it up themselves. After I'm done these classes, I will turn it into in a virtual platform. And so it will be available in the near future virtually for people to watch.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right, well, I'll put the link below how you can contact Amy in regards to the Seeds to Stars, and we will see you again in our next episode as we continue Rewoven stories of our sacred womb. So thank you so much, Amy, for sharing sacred space with me today. We look forward to having you once again, and we will surprise you with what our next topic is. All right. Love to
Absolute pleasure. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the Blue Feathered Stories, and we are looking forward to the rest of this beautiful series called The Rewoven, the secrets and the mysticism of our beautiful sacred womb. And so join us again on our next episode next week. We look forward to having you with us. Aho.